Real JP Multimedia, proud sponsor of the Nerdball podcast. Here to help you with all things audio, video, graphics, photo, web design. From weddings to real estate, commercial business to private use, we offer a big variety of services for almost any budget. And if we can't do it, we will find someone who can. Find us at realjp.com. That's REELJP.com. Real JP Multimedia.
I'm Chelsea, and this is the Nerdball podcast.
This is the Nerdball podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
All right, Chelsea, you're back to tell us. I had to listen to it, and I remembered putting something at the very end to like, all right, where do we start off at? First of all, before we start, again, as always, Fort Mix CrossFit, thank you for allowing me to use the studio space, 13,000 Echo Junction Road in Perrysburg, Ohio, fortmixcrossfit.com. We do have a fan. You have a fan, a girl I went to school with. Her name's Teresa Lipsky. She goes, I love Chelsea's episodes.
Thank you.
Yes. So she always she even told me, I saw her at a Perrysburg hockey game. She told me, she goes, sometimes it looks like I'm working and someone will come in my office like, I'm working. I'm just listening to your podcast. So
Oh, yay.
yeah. So,
good.
So I'm sure, along with a bunch of other people, we're all excited because the last thing we said was your story called The FBI Agent, right?
Yes.
And again, I listened to the end of the podcast and I saw, I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I don't know how you want to start this off, what you want to do. But you also told me to, I believe your words were buckle up.
Yes.
So
I will.
One more other thing.
Yeah.
Grandma, we talked about cooking and baking last one. So she brought me some cookies. So I'm pretty excited.
And your life will be changed forever with those. They are so good.
I'm excited.
Yes. I will give a couple prefaces before I start this. One, I'm aware of the nonsensical red flags that kept arising, but do it for the gram. You got to get the story, right?
Well, that happened in the last episode too,
yeah,
though.
Well, yeah. If you see my glasses, they're red all the time, rose colored all the time. So that and right when you think it can't get any weirder, it does.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna with that.
All right. Well, and also we have an hour.
Yeah.
So take all of it or take whatever you need, but I'm here for it. So let's go.
So it is summer of 2019.
Okay.
I'm living in Michigan, doing the dating apps. I'm like, this is a fresh start. Here we go.
So you were in Michigan for the Uber driver story too,
yeah,
right?
Yep. So that was and the guy that called and wanted to FaceTime me why he.
Yeah. So is this before or after Uber driver?
This was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I was like, I'm done dating in this godforsaken state.
Okay.
So I matched with this guy, and he had a little bit of a bad boy person. I was like, he's got the tattoos. Yeah. He's out in the wilderness. I'm like, okay, this could be fun, something different. Yeah. So we match, and we start talking. And things are fine. His grammar is not great, but I'm like, whatever. I can look past that.
Do you look past that any longer?
No, I don't look anywhere. I am I've got blinders on. Okay. I am get out of my way.
All right.
So, we start messaging and the conversation's great. And I'm like, okay. We keep talking a couple days. And then I'm at work on a Thursday afternoon. It's 3:30. And he texts me. He goes, hey, I have to talk to you. I said, okay, well, I'm at work. I can call you after. He goes, no, I need to talk to you now. I said, again, I am at work.
Yeah.
I will call you after. And he goes, I really need to tell you something. And I said, okay. We have not met. We have not met yet. We have only been texting. We haven't even spoke on the phone yet.
Do you have any idea what it could be?
No, because then he goes, he goes, I am a good person. I said, okay. God. So at this point, I am stringing the flag, the red flag on the pole. It's being strung up, okay? So I'm like, okay, my antenna's going off a little bit here. He goes, I'm a good person. You need to know that about me. I am helping people. I am doing the right thing and I'm helping people. And I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus. Okay. Because at this point, I've experienced a lot of weird stuff. So I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah.
So I get off work. I have never dialed a phone so quick. And I was like, hello.
How could you even work? Like
I know,
during the
I
day?
couldn't. It was awful. I was like, the itch to figure out what's going on with this man. So I get in the car and I call him and he's like, hey. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, I need to be honest with you about something. And I said, okay. And he's like, he goes, I really would like to hang out with you. And I think we were talking about like hanging out either that night or that weekend or something. So I think he was like, I want to tell you this before like we hang out. I said, okay. And he goes, so I was at work last night and one of my guys got shot. And I was like,
did you know what he did?
no. I was like, okay, I'm going to need some more context, buddy. And he goes, well, I work with the police. I'm an FBI agent.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like, cool. And then I was like, but then I'm like, wait, I don't think that's how people who work for the FBI tell people they work for the FBI.
Also, when he's saying like, I'm a good person, like, did he shoot him?
Yeah. So I'm like, what? I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, are you okay? And I think like the guy died. Like he was, and I was like, that is really awful. I'm really sorry. But like thinking, what does this have to do with me or you? Like, and he goes, so yeah, we did a drug bust last night and things got really crazy. And I was like, oh man, like, I can't believe like, so you're working with the cops and the FBI. And he's like, well, like kind of. And I was like, oh no.
All right.
Okay. All right. And he goes, well, like, I work with the cops adjacent. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? And he goes, so my friend is a cop. And he lets us go into drug dens first. And we get to keep any money we find.
Oh, my
but
gosh.
we have to give the drugs back to the police.
Yeah.
And I said, huh? How does that work?
So when he said he's an FBI agent, that doesn't sound like an FBI agent to me, right? Okay.
No, he is not an FBI agent.
Yep.
I go, so what? I go, oh, so you like, oh, he goes, I'm an informant. I'm an informant. And that's what he kept calling himself. He goes, I'm an informant. And I go, what do you, he goes, yeah, I'm an informant for the police. I'm like, oh, so like they pay you? And so he's like, well, no. He's like, my friend's a cop and he basically tells me where drugs are and I go get them. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, we went into like a weird situation. He goes, my guy got shot. We had to kill some people. And there was like a kid there. And I'm like, what the hell?
I'm afraid for you telling this story.
Yeah. Don't worry. I wised up very quickly as like this story is being told to me.
I'm just saying now, like present day.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why is she saying everything? All this stuff.
So I couldn't even tell you what this dude's name was. It probably wasn't even real. So he's like, yeah, we go in and we get to keep the money and we just have to give the drugs back to the police because then the police take the drugs off the street. And I'm a good person. I'm helping people. I said, okay, cool. Like, so excited for you. He's like, yeah, but like last night things got weird. And I was like, yeah. Again, still not understanding like why he felt the need to tell me this. And
so at this point, I would feel like any rational, non-rose-colored wearing person would just be like, all right, well, I just never talk to you again.
Yeah, no, that's where I was going. But then it like kind of kept getting better. So I was like, okay. He's like, I just really wanted to be upfront with you about that. Like, it was really weighing on me. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, but anyway, I still would love to get together tonight.
Yeah.
And he goes, but I'll need you to pick me up.
Of course.
Because, he goes, and he lived like an hour away. And he goes, I'll need you to pick me up, please, because like I don't have a car. My aunt and uncle aren't letting me take the car, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. It's like
He's
Uber
grounded.
driver, Uber driver 2.0.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, and I'm like egging it on because I just gotta see where this goes and what's happening. And he goes, I would love to take you down by the river and go for a walk down by the river. And I was like, okay, I will not be.
The Detroit River?
Yeah,
okay,
the Detroit River. He goes, let's go to Belle Isle and walk around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in my head, I'm like, no. And he goes, we have to hang out tonight. And I'm like, what? He goes, we have to. He goes, we have to hang out tonight.
Because I'm going away for a long time.
Because I'm going to rehab tomorrow and I need to see you before I go to rehab. And I said, what? He goes, yes. He goes, I have a slight problem with drugs and alcohol. And he goes, I don't want to be going to rehab, but the court is making me. And I said, oh. And he goes, so I have to see you tonight. And he goes, we'll have a nice night. I'll take you out by the river. And I'm like, no, you're going to like take me out by the river. I know I can read between the lines. I am not stupid. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then he goes, I just want you to know I am not allowed to have a phone in rehab, but I will be sneaking one in so I can keep talking to you.
You're like, yes, that's all I've ever wanted.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah. The sweetest thing I've ever heard. And he goes,
so let's back up. Let's go to initially when you matched. And I've never used a dating thing, right?
Lucky.
Is it just for you? I'm just talking to you. Is it just based on looks? Because that's all you have. I mean, they write a bio. I know you said like his grammar was really bad, and
yeah. I mean, I won't like front, but like most of the time,
sure,
yeah. It's just like when you're quickly, but like that was back then when I just was trying to meet new people, and it was what it was, and but. So, since I've done dating apps more recently, I try and read because there's usually a lot of fine print in the bio, and then I'm like, oh yeah, never mind.
So do you remember anything that was in his bio, like word wise? That
no, I blacked that experience out so hard, so hard.
Except for this entire story.
Yes, but like who he was is like you could do a lineup, and I couldn't tell you who it was. So again,
present day Chelsea is not setting her. There's gonna be this random guy. Like he kind of looks familiar. Whatever.
Oh, when I die, you'll know exactly. Oh God, it was it's the FBI agent. Yeah.
Okay, so you talked to him one time. He called you at work saying he needed to talk to you. You find out all this crazy stuff about him.
Yeah.
And then so you're part of me. You're like I'm stringing him along, but part of me still is like you're stringing him along, sure, but you still want to help Chelsea, right? You know what I mean? Like you still want to be something in my mind is thinking you did not say no. Like you did not say no to this evening.
This was surprise the only time I've ever.
You did?
Yeah, I did. So he keeps talking to me, and so when he said, "I don't want to go to rehab, but the court's making me," and he goes, oh, also I have to do it in order to see my kid, but I don't really care. And I'm like,
okay, cool.
Okay, that flag is all the way at the top, blown in the wind. Cool. And he said, so with all that, like, I can still see you tonight, right? And I said, oh no, I don't think so. I don't think so. And he goes, I knew it. And so then this is like when the anger comes. And he goes, I knew it. He goes, all you women are the same. I opened my heart up to you and you stomp on it. He goes, you're all the same. He's like, how could you do this to me?
What part of his heart did he open? He's been talking to you for 12 hours.
Yeah. And I said, okay, like, well, I don't know what you expected me to do. You just told me you're involved with some weird stuff and kind of kept lying about in a roundabout way.
And you also said you don't care about your child.
Yeah. And you're going to rehab.
Yeah.
Rehab. I like to have fun and have drinks on the weekend.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you can't control yourself. So I was like, yeah. And I hung up. I called one of my girlfriends who was also at work because I'm like, I need to tell somebody else this story because I can't believe what just happened.
So where along that story were in your head, you're like, okay, this is no.
When he wanted to take me by the river.
Okay, all right.
I think that was like the...
So like being part of an FBI...
I think that was like an inkling. That was like pushing me there. But then when he was like, I want to take you by the river, I was like, red flag. My mom warned me about people like you. That's like the one time, like usually it's like my dad's head inside me telling me like the good or bad. And then this one, my mom came full force and was like, do not do that. And I was like, okay, I will listen.
That was like, that was a gump coming out.
Oh yeah. She was like, absolutely not. I was like, okay, I will not do that.
All right.
So then
you're telling your friend, you called your friend.
I called my friend and then this guy's still texting me and now he's starting to get like aggressive and I'm like, okay, so I just block him and I'm like, I am done dealing with that. And then I obviously never heard from that man again.
Yeah.
I don't know if his rehab stint went well because, it was like his 4th time
Sure.
going.
Yeah, well.
And like, get the help you need, good for you. But when you go in knowing, hey, I don't need this, the court's making me,
Yeah.
I don't have high hopes that you're going to get through it.
Yeah.
But do you, pal? So that was a time.
I first of all, I'm proud you said no.
Thank you. Me too.
Because these other stories, I'm just waiting for you to say no, and you don't ever. And so this was a surprise.
Yeah, you and me both.
Although I was kind of looking forward to the stories, like, so we were down by the river.
Yeah. I wised up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All of, I don't know how you meet that, like how you meet people like these people you meet. 'Cause I don't think I've ever met people. Well, I think I grew up with my brother was this person. Like, like he was just like, he would be a story like people tell.
Yeah.
Like, I met this guy. But I just don't meet wild, crazy people.
Well, you can hide yourself on the internet. You can be whoever you want to be. And I think too, it's very interesting. I saw a social media post and it was like, when are people gonna understand that a man's greatest fear about meeting up with somebody from the internet is they might not look like their picture, and a woman's is she'll get murdered.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, it's been very interesting. And but with dating, I always send, when I go on a date with somebody new, I text one of my brothers, like where I'm going, and if I have a picture, like I usually have a picture of the person.
Yeah.
And then I tell like a handful of my girlfriends, and I'm like, if you don't hear from me by X amount of time, like this is who I was last with, call 911.
So why, like, to me, it's terrifying. It seems terrifying enough where you would just not date.
But I know one would think, but it's like people, people don't meet people anymore. Like, think about where you met your friends and what you and your friends used to do growing up. And like, people don't do that stuff anymore. Like, I'm too old to be going out to bars. Like, and I don't want to meet somebody that I met at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And people don't do things. Everyone sits behind a screen and you can try and like,
People
it's difficult.
don't do things.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm to the point where I'm like, all right, mom and dad, you want to arrange something? Let's go.
Oh,
let's go. Let's go. So,
yeah, I mean, I was with my wife. I think I was 19 or 20, but again, it's just like hanging out. And I knew she was from Perrysburg, but I can't fathom like trying to do this, or like for women having to think about, okay, our first date should be at noon on a Saturday at a coffee shop because it's in the public.
Somewhere public.
Right?
Yeah. The first date always
and we
in public.
drive separately.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can't, want to tell them too much information about who you are, where you live. And that's the other thing too, is people do so much research, and it's like, because if you match with somebody and like, it's all connected via social media, right? So you can see like, oh, my friend knows this person. So you reach out to them, you say, what's this? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's awful. But I mean, it gets great stories, right? But it is like soul draining at times.
Yeah.
And like, I've gone where I've taken like a year off where I'm like, I will let the cosmic powers that be throw somebody in my life, because that seems more realistic than trying to find some Joe Schmo off this godforsaken app. And the amount of times that people are married, or like I'll be looking at them like, dude, I went to high school with you and you're married. I see you with your wife all the time. What are you doing?
Oh, on the app.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Or this one was really funny. It was a couple I went to high school with. They were like looking for a third to like join them. And I'm like, I know you guys. Like, you guys have kids. I mean, do what makes you happy. But it is always very interesting scrolling and being like, or there's that person that you keep running into them 8 years later, you're both still single, and you're like, what's wrong with us? Why are you still on here? Why are you still on here?
Yeah.
And it's the back and forth. Or you'll see your friends. My one guy friend and I always like, I'm like, oh, hey, we'll like fake like each other and be like, oh, what's going on? One of these times I'm like, I'm going to actually make you take me somewhere if you keep blowing up my inbox.
Do you ever, when you see people who are married on there, do you ever like rat them out, or have you ever?
No, because it's not been people that like I would care too much to. But if
Okay.
there's like somebody who was like
when
maybe
like
nasty to me or something,
yeah.
I'd be
Or
like,
like
oh.
a friend of yours is married to this guy, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the weirdest things is when I worked at TOL, this guy I worked with, like he was on, and I'm like, I just met your wife and kids.
Oh, really?
Like the other day, like, and I was like, and I didn't
He's like, oh, it's for a story. Don't worry, it's for a story.
yeah, and I was like, whoa. I wanted to say something, but I never did because I just didn't. But
Yeah.
I just had that mental note of like and you know, maybe you shouldn't judge, but my vision of this man changed like in an instant.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, why? And maybe that's like something you guys have worked out in your marriage, but I was like, ugh. Like, I don't know. I just that was weird to me. Or the amount of people in an open relationship.
Yeah.
I'm like, does your wife know it's open? And then
They put it in their profiles. Or
yeah.
whatever?
Oh, yeah. Some people are so bold and like with what they feel they can say. Or my favorite is, hey, my wife and I are going to be getting divorced. I can feel it. So I'm just trying to set something up for when we get divorced.
I can feel it.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. Or the people who are like, you must look like this and you will do this and you will serve me and I will be your husband and blah. And I'm like, you are out of touch with reality, sir.
At least they put that out there.
Yeah. And so, you
right?
know, like, hard pass.
Yeah. And there's always there's somebody for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that guy has to take, 20 years before he finds that.
Yeah.
There's somebody who can be like, yes, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Or, whatever.
It will not be me.
Yeah. But
I will do. If you tell me to do something, I'm running 100 miles per hour in the opposite direction. That is me. And that is why I'm a Taurus and I am stubborn as hell. And I know that about myself. But if you don't expect me to do something, I will do it for you tenfold.
Yeah.
But the second you tell me you're going to do this, woman, I'm going to say, no, I will not be. Watch me. I am that daughter, that firstborn daughter that does not have a problem arguing with my father.
Yeah.
Okay? So
it's again, I can't imagine trying to go on those things and trying to find a life partner. I do have friends who have married with kids. It does work, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise they wouldn't be around.
yeah, my brother and his fiance, they met on a dating app, and so things worked out great for them. Not so much me, but
He was on there one time and he found a fiance. You're like, what?
I know. I'm like, ugh. And this is like the best part. So we're both doing like Tinder Passport,
What's
which is
that?
like where you can. So usually like it goes off your location, and it used to be where you could only go 60 miles out
Okay.
of your radius. So like they paired you. Well, they did a thing where you could move your pin or set your radius however far you wanted. So she's from Cleveland, and she set her radius to like, I think like 3 hours.
Okay.
And Bennett had set his, and that's how
That's
they
how they
met.
found
And
each
then
other.
they started talking. So for the first like almost 2 years of their relationship, they spent every other weekend in Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Perrysburg.
Really?
Yeah. So, but yeah, it worked out for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. And I'm like, and I know other people who are married with kids that, they swiped right.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, good for you. And I, like a lot of other people are like, why don't you meet people at work? Oh, you mean because I work from home? So I'm going to meet myself? And I'm like, even when I don't work, like there's 6 of us.
Oh.
And I am the only non-married one. Oh, I'm sorry. There's another one. He's gay.
Yeah.
So again, not really gonna
Work that one
gonna
out.
work out for
Yeah,
me there.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just fine. I am very open to like, I love when people are like, oh, I have somebody for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I
Please.
will claw onto that. Sure. I'll hide my crazy long enough. I'll meet first. Parents love me. I can't, so.
Yeah, we established that. I think there's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
even a time where you were done dating someone and you're like, well, and her parents are like, well, where's Chelsea?
Yeah. I love that. And so anytime, I'm very much open for if someone's like, hey, I think my friend right now is trying to work on something, but she
Yeah.
goes, we're crock potting it. She goes, low and slow, baby.
Crock-potting
I
it.
said, I like this. So we are low and slow with somebody she works with. So I'm
Okay.
hopeful that maybe we'll see what happens with that. But
Well, we've gone through all this dating, and
Mm-hmm.
we've never. I don't think we've ever talked about like what exactly you're looking for. Is there like Is there like things you look for exactly, or is it just like, well, whatever at this point?
So
whatever.
I used to be like, I only want this, this, and this, and you
Yeah.
have to be this, and I had like this laundry list, and I'm like, oh, like when you're 20, you could be like, oh, I'm
You
gonna
can
be
do
so
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
you can.
yeah.
When you're 32,
Yeah.
that list gets a little shorter.
But I'm sure there's still some stuff on there, right?
Oh yeah. So when
You can't be going to rehab.
yeah, please, I still think I'm young enough where I like. Single dad's not my thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give it a couple more years, and then maybe I'll do that. Because I dated a guy with a kid, and it was terrible. It was like a very bad experience. Like,
Just because like you just weren't ready for that part of it.
no, it wasn't that. It was just he was like a half-assed father, and then when he
okay.
was wanting to be a dad, like he would be like, "Oh, well, we'd have plans," and he's like, "Well, I decided I wanted to spend time with my kid," which. Fine, love that. That's great. But like he never took me into consideration with anything, and I realized like, oh, you never will. And I get you. That's fine. That's not what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah.
You need someone who maybe also has a kid that you guys can deal with that together. So
Also, have you been with single dads where I don't know how many you've dated, but have you ever been with them where they're just like immediately introduce you to their child?
no, thank God.
Okay.
No,
Because that'd be the worst thing.
no, and because I love kids, and I'd be like, great. I would step into stepmommy role.
Yeah.
So hard, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's not for me. I shouldn't do that. Like, I get too attached to things.
Yeah.
But I used to have like the laundry list of like physical attributes, and then I'm like, this is stupid because like, and the new thing of like, oh, maybe quit dating your type because it's not working. Like, go
Yeah.
outside. But I honestly like, if you can make me laugh, I think that is like genuinely laugh. That is like number one.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, and just somebody who wants a family and is kind, and it's like. I enjoy going to sporting events. Somebody who likes to do that or like has common interests.
I was just saying now it's probably more about interests, right?
Yeah. It's definitely more about someone that likes to have fun, go do things, likes to travel.
What if they like the Cleveland Browns?
You know what? We can get a cute little house divided flag. Boom. Boom. But my kids will be wearing black and yellow if
That's
we
difficult.
have them.
So I lucked out because Andrea really didn't. I mean, she likes the Bills. But she was like never like a huge fan enough where, I mean, she'll wear a Cowboys jersey now if we're going to watch a Cowboys game somewhere, So I like that as far as like our kids, they didn't have any choice.
Yeah.
Right? You're either going to like this team or you're not going to
Well,
you're not going to like another team.
But with my family and how intense we
Yeah,
are, it won't be like, cool, you can do whatever you want, but you're still going to wear this and you're going to love it. And it's welcome to the winning side.
Could you
Have
imagine?
fun.
I can't imagine just knowing your family, like that someone's dating one of your brothers or whoever that are a Cleveland Browns fan, diehard, and they go into this situation. Like, I would be terrified.
His fiance is a Cleveland.
Oh, of course, yeah, that's right, because she's from Cleveland. Oh, how is like? I feel like you guys just make fun of her all the time.
So obnoxious on Sundays. It's like the best way because she has all of her Browns stuff. She even got Bennett to wear a Browns jersey, and we all ripped him. We were like, Bennett, and he goes,
my God.
What? And I was like, and so we just like, oh, hey, your team's playing. And he goes, no, the Steelers have a bye. And we're like, no, Cleveland's on. And he's like, come on, that's not fair. And we're like, no, you wore the jersey,
Yeah.
allowed a photo to be taken of you, and posted on social media. What are you doing?
What that instantly reminded me of another photo that was taken of him, and I had to message. This is years ago.
Oh, I know exactly
And I had
what
to
you're going to
message.
say.
I was like, I don't think that photo should be on the
Yeah.
internet.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But I can't believe that. I can't believe like now the only thing that I can appreciate, like I don't like the Bills. I want them to win because my in-laws like them. But and maybe this is her too. Like I can appreciate you being a fan of like a rival, like for you Steelers. If you're like a true fan and you're into it, whatever.
Yes.
Because it's all about like passion and being fanatical and that kind of stuff. So I think it would be a little easier to handle. Also, they're bad.
Yeah.
But it'd be a little easier to handle like her in the house because like, well, she really likes the team. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just
yeah.
like,
And that's where it's not like she's not like an annoying like I'm just going to do this to be different.
Yeah,
No, she was a Cleveland fan before we met her, but she likes the Penguins with Bennett, so they can bond over that.
Okay.
So I'm like, cool. Yeah, I like just even someone to go to games with. Like, I don't care. Like, you can be a whatever fan, but obviously it's more fun when the person and also enjoys the team with you. And so, but yeah, I want someone fun, and it's pretty much, I'm very easy to please at this point with, just don't be a liar or a creep, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we can cut this out if you want, but a few months ago you said you were dating somebody.
We broke up.
Oh, okay.
We broke up, and it was pretty awful. But
well, we don't have to talk about it.
No, he was someone who is very special to me and will always be very special to me. We were on and off again for about 10 years.
Okay.
And it was funny because he made a comment about the podcast.
Oh, really?
He listened to me. He goes, "Why don't you ever talk about me?" And I'm like, "Because I don't have like awful dating stories with you." Like,
that's what this is.
Yeah, I had really great dating stories with you, which and I feel like I should share one because this was really sweet because we were on and off again quite a bit.
And this is someone you went to school with too?
No,
high school,
we worked at BCSN together.
Okay, all right.
And we met there, and it's been 10 years. Like, I met him 10 years ago.
How many times have you guys dated in that 10 years, do you think?
Like, officially twice, like where we called each other like boyfriend, girlfriend twice, but we never left each other alone in those 10 years. Sure. So, I know he dated a couple other people.
Was it, and maybe this is something you guys talked about, but like when he would date someone, did you feel it like,
every time. Every time. He would not talk to me for 2 days and I would lose my shit. I would call my best friend and be like, "Oh my God, he's moved on, blah, blah, blah." And like, unhealthy and on my end for how I would act like that. But he was, we broke up in like 2015 for the first time. It was super sad. And we took like the summer, like we didn't talk to each other, like here and there.
Are you still working together at this point or
no?
Okay.
Yeah. Right. And so it's not, but not as much because I moved into the office, so I wasn't doing events. Okay. So I would barely see him. And then he, like one day he sent me this like text message that was so long. When I opened it, it like took me to my notes app because it was like he wrote out, and it was really sweet. And he basically was like, I don't want to not be with you. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna win you back. And then he recreated our first date for us, and it was super sweet. And
what was this?
So our first date was, I was living in Grandma's house at the time, and I had him over, and I made him spaghetti. It was terrible because it was all like, I just like threw rag. It was not like, nothing was homemade. It was all, so I made like spaghetti, and we watched Caddyshack and Pretty Woman. And just
double feature.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
So he took me to Fifth Street Pub.
Yeah.
So we could get spaghetti and meatballs again. And I came home and he had bought the Caddyshack movie poster.
Oh, nice.
And had it, and then we watched the movies again.
Yeah.
And it was really sweet. Yeah. And he did a lot of sweet things like that. But sometimes things, and it's not like a end forever thing right now. It's I got to focus on me for a little bit, and you can focus on you, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because you did say, like I said, a few months ago, you're like, well, I am dating someone. I was like, oh, nice,
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
It does sound like, I mean, obviously you're telling bad stories, and these other guys don't mean anything. You're just telling these horrible stories.
Yeah. Yeah, but he like met, and like I didn't have horrible dating stories with him. It was because I like genuinely wanted to be around him and with him and do these. So I never feared for my life with him that I thought like, I never was like, oh, he's probably going to murder me.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
That's probably a good trait to look for.
Yeah. Yes.
Do I feel like you're going to murder me?
Non-murderous. Yeah. So dating is interesting. So I'm on the bench for the time being, and maybe I'll start at it again. I'm going to guess
if one of your good friends like, hey, I set this date up, you guys are going tomorrow. You're like, all right, I'm in.
Oh, obviously. Yeah, obviously. But I don't think I'd be very much fun to have on a date right now, just because I'm entering my selfish season. And I am going to do what I want.
Okay,
and
all right.
how I want it. And I'm done apologizing or like, what is it? This is like my favorite. I am done setting myself on fire to keep other people warm.
Okay. Nice.
And I feel like that is what I have done a lot. So I'm going to do what I want. Some might call it my villain era, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, not everybody gets access. And you must be this tall to ride this ride kind of thing, you know?
So what do you think your good characteristics are? I think this is always a difficult question because I don't think people think about themselves very often, right?
I am very loyal and I'm very caring, and I will do anything for anybody, and I have proven that time and time again.
Yeah.
And I'm a very good friend, and I feel like I can bring that. I will cross oceans for people. I think that is something to do until you piss me off, and then you're bye.
Yeah.
So
is that a pretty quick switch?
my best friend would say hell no, because she has been trying to get me to put myself first for a very long time. There are some situations where it is a very quick switch.
I would imagine the years of knowing somebody depends on how fast
Yes,
it deteriorates, right?
Someone who's been in my life for a very long time, it's very hard to. But there was this one time, the guy that had a kid, he had gotten me flowers, and I had brought them home because I was living with my parents at the time. And, like, he had called me the next day and was like, oh, I'm seeing somebody else. And I'm like, you're seeing what? I was like, whatever. Okay. So he called me at, like, 9 in the morning, too. I'm, like, at work. And I'm like, great. Or, like, on the clock. And I go up. I take those flowers. I go upstairs, and I throw them away. And my dad was also working from home. And he goes, okay, I take it that's over. I said, yeah, it is. And he's like, okay.
And that was the end of that.
That was the end of that. He was a really awful human. Yeah.
Wow.
So... yeah, sometimes I can flip that switch and I can be like, oh, you're dead to me. Like, sorry about you. Good luck. But other times I'm like, oh, you want a 17th chance? Oh, of course.
And your friends are like,
you'll change. Oh, my one girlfriend is like, I love you, you beautiful idiot. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, I know. And I think too, everyone says like, once I tell my mom about you, like, you know, I can't. Once my mom knows how terrible you are, I can't have you in my life. Mine is once I tell my brothers about you, sorry.
That's difficult.
You can't come back in because they know and they will not make it easy on you.
Yeah, because it's one thing. I think I had a friend who him and his wife were going through issues, and his whole family knew all these issues. So then when they kind of like were mending, like it was difficult for the family to be like, oh, this is okay again. Like again, you can't flip that switch back to being okay.
Because you put them through the ringer of hearing all this
negativity.
Yeah. But no, my Bennett in particular, my mom calls him like a litmus paper, because if Bennett does not like you, like he is my human radar now, because he has only not liked like 4 people, and he has been dead bang on about those 4 people, and so I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just bring him around. What do you think of this person? And even some of my friends, like he'd be like, I do not like her.
Oh, really?
And I was like, no, she's great. And I'm like, oh God, you were right. Yeah. Sorry. So whenever he's like not a fan, I'm like, that's my new cue of see ya. Sorry. Good luck.
What's he say about me? Anything?
Oh, he loves you. Yeah.
I saw him. Where did I see him and his fiance? This is maybe it was at that mommy game. Maybe that's where I saw him. I can't remember. I saw him somewhere, and he introduced me to her.
The whole family loves you, Lorenzo. I told Grandma I was coming, and she was excited.
Yeah.
You got cookies.
Yeah. Well, I coached Chaz his freshman year. I was a volunteer freshman coach. I did it with Bennett. I think I was around the varsity team, but I was still a 7th grade coach. And of course, Adam. So I was always around. I was around quite a bit. So it was.
I'd say I've probably honestly known you since I was single digits, I would assume.
Yeah.
Because you and Adam have probably been friends.
We've been friends since freshman year in high school, because that's when I moved to Perrysburg.
Okay. All right. So then, I would have been, like 9.
My favorite stories are like I think we talked about it when we went on our guys trip a few years ago. Just Adam's interactions with his mother, and like it is so, because Adam is, when he would say he would get in trouble, all of us, even in high school, we're like, how are you getting in trouble? Like, you don't do any, we make you do bad things. You don't just like come up with, we have the crazy ideas. You're just along for the ride because you're little Adam and you're not going to say no.
Yeah.
You know, but I never could understand how he would get in trouble on his own.
Yeah.
And then hearing all these stories, like, well, it's not really Adam.
No. Well, one of the funniest times is my mom had to go pick the boys up from her house, and she went in, and John had lost his door privileges, and she had taken the door off.
That's crazy.
And John, being John, made a cardboard door and wrote like "Do not enter" on it.
Wow.
And the other thing that was so funny, so like my cousins forget that like my mom knows everybody, and like working in the salon back then with like high school girls that were tech girls, my mom knew everything about them. So the one day they were having dinner and my mom goes, "Hey guys, how was that party you threw last weekend?" And they were like, how do you know? What do you mean? And she goes, "I know everything. So knock it off." Yeah. Like, she's like, "I don't know what you think." And because like the towel girls came to work and would blab and be like, "Oh, I was with your nephews. They threw a house party last night." Yeah. And she goes, "Really? Very interesting." Yeah. And then my mom would go back and be like, "So how was it?" And they'd be like, "How'd you know?"
Yeah. My favorite story to tell is we were in OU. We were in college. I don't know how Adam was able to go because of baseball. It must have just been a perfect timing where baseball wasn't happening for him because there was always something for baseball in college, right? So we were down OU visiting Trey, and we'd party, do whatever. We're down there, and one morning I wake up because Adam's like pacing back and forth on the phone, and he said he's trying to be quiet.
Oh, I think I know what this one is.
But the phrase I remember the most is Adam saying, "Okay, Mom, I'm a disappointment."
Oh.
And I was losing it. And then he tells me the story after. He goes, "My mom wanted me to go home to let the dogs out. Like, she was mad that I left for the weekend because nobody was there with the dogs." And I was like, that's unbelievable.
I'm pretty sure he called me and goes, "Hey."
Yeah.
Well, he called me one time. I remember it was a Friday night, and he calls me. I was like, "Oh my God, my cousin's calling me. This is so great. He wants to do something." And he's like, "Hey, I'm in a real bad pickle. Can you please go let the dogs out for my mom? Like, I messed up and forgot I had to take care of them. Yeah. Can you please go let them out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like, sure, no problem."
You let them out, you're crying. You're like, "I just wanted to hang
out." I know.
out.
And then, but he left out that those dogs were psychotic.
Yeah.
I had to, feed them like rotisserie chicken. I had to get, like, they didn't eat normal food. And they hate people. So the whole time they are little ankle biters trying to bite me. And I'm like, "I hate this." And then they wouldn't eat. And I'm like, whatever. So I eventually just like threw the food on the floor and I said, "Good luck.
Yeah.
Eat." And then I never heard anything again. But yeah, he's like, "Can you please?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, dead on the inside. Like, yeah, because why wouldn't you want to hang out with your 16-year-old cousin?
That's right. He's never going to listen to this anyway.
Yeah.
So none of my friends do.
Yeah.
They make fun of me and then I make fun of them. Like when we were on that guy trip, I was like, "Guys, I have some really good episodes." They just look at me like, "All right, I get it." Whatever.
Well, here, if you are listening, Adam, call your grandma. She'd love to hear from you.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. But it was all one of those things. I know. I may have asked this before. Do you know which one your grandma's favorite is?
100%, yes. It's Chaz.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
can see that. Yeah.
There's a steady, like, rotating list of like 3 or 4 of us. But to be fair, my siblings and I are the ones that spend the most time with her. Yeah. We do everything with her and for her. But it's definitely, I think Chaz is her buddy. But it's like, I could say, I think it's between Chaz, myself, and John.
Okay.
Because John's the first, and I always have to give him a hard time.
My brother was my grandma's favorite. Yeah. 100%.
But
she would never say it.
Yeah. But he is very quickly overshadowed by Beatrice. Like, she is, I think. Like,
who's Beatrice?
John's daughter.
Okay.
She is, I think, the number one. And then we come in. But I know that at the end of the day, when something is wrong, that woman's calling me for help.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she has her. I would imagine there's lists in her mind for certain things.
Oh yeah. Right? Well, and I think.
Do I need something to move heavy? Call Jess.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've all had our turn being grandma's favorite. We've all lived with her at some point. The only people that have not lived with her were my uncle's kids that live in Virginia, the one that
Okay.
was in the military, because
Yeah.
they never lived here.
Yeah.
But we have all taken turns living with her. She's been our roommate all at one point or time. So
And now and I have no idea the story because I've never met like her husband. Like,
my grandfather.
yeah.
He
Was he not a good dude or?
they got divorced
Okay.
when I was 4.
Got it. Okay.
I have like one memory of them like being together.
Okay.
Yeah, he has a new wife.
Okay. Is he around here?
Yeah,
You guys
he's
still
around.
talk to him?
Oh yeah, every once in a while.
Okay, all
He just not. Grandma's been like my grandparent, and
yeah.
I mean he's my grandfather. Obviously, I love him, but he made choices
Yep.
that after the divorce and his new life of freedom was really important to him, and my grandma's grandkids and kids were really important to her,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
kind of where. But as he's gotten older, I think he's kind of realized like, oh man, maybe I should have put some more
That
effort.
happens a
in.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We even my grandparents on my mom's side were together, and I was always my grandma was always doing stuff with us. My grandpa was there too, but just
Yeah.
not as much.
yeah.
And then they got divorced when I was, I think they got divorced. I'm 38 now. Like when I was like 34.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
All right.
They were together for so long.
Yeah, you're like, what?
but my grandma lived with us. There was a stint where she lived with us for a few years, then moved back, and then like the last years of her life, I think she was probably with my mom for like over a decade.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's like she never even lived there. But I feel like I don't know, maybe it's just a grandma thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I just remember her. She would do everything. My grandpa would take us like. He took us to MIS. He took my brother and I to Cowboys training camp for a few years in California.
Yeah, I know.
Like he would do things, but I always remember my grandma doing more stuff.
I have zero
Yeah,
memories of him wanting to.
Well, you were little when
Yeah.
they.
No, but
right?
even as like I became an adult, like that wasn't his vibe, and that's fine. Like, but I also think too, like with our grandparents, is like they were so conditioned to like, well, that's what we did in our generation, and this, and like, I'm like, well, you don't have to do that.
My
You don't have to.
favorite TikTok videos I see is when it's clearly an elderly person
Yeah.
and they're trying to do their best to like if somebody is trans or some like to do their best like I don't want to mess this up like where they could easily just go the other way and everyone would be okay with it because
Yeah.
they're old
Yeah.
but they try so hard to make sure like well what are their pronouns or like all this stuff like you don't even have to worry about that and you are
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should call your grandma before Adam because maybe I'll go step above
Oh,
him.
100%. 100. That is all that woman wants is to hear from her grandkids.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
great grandkids. And that's, and all like, I want to get this so bad, but like, we're so much older and it's so difficult. She just wants, I mean, she has 23 grandkids and like and then she has 6, soon to be 6 great grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And all she wants is, or soon to be 7, is like a photo with all of them. And that is all she
yeah.
wants. And everybody lives, it's very difficult to coordinate everybody.
Is
but
somebody good with anybody good with Photoshop?
not that good, but I would.
Here's what I think, and if you can arrange them just to take family photos, I can probably get my brother-in-law Jake Paluski.
Oh, yeah.
I can probably get him to put them all together and
That'd
make
be-
it look like
that would be
so
wonderful. Yeah,
So
talk
about that. Get if you can get all these family photos, send them to me, and I'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Because I think he's really good audio, video,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, because we have like so many like Mod Podge collages of
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
well, we had 15 of them, so here's a really big group, and we've just keep adding to it because
Yeah.
Josh is about to have a kid,
Yeah.
and which is insane. The fact that Josh and Adam's kid will be the same age when they're 15 years apart is, I think, also hilarious.
Yeah,
but
I didn't think about that until now. Yeah, wow.
yeah,
Yeah, so see what you can do.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Work on it, even if it's like, hey, let's see if we can get this done by next Christmas.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, if you called her, she'd be like, Gump kids who?
Yeah, and we've talked about it before when I would go over there and I had Mateo at the
Yeah.
time and just visit
she
real quick. Yeah,
Loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what she wanted. Like a 5-minute visit makes her day.
She should come on the podcast.
Oh.
Although I'd make it a lot easier for her. I wouldn't have to. I could just go to her house
Yeah.
and clip a microphone.
Oh, she
to
could
her.
tell you. She could tell you stories for days about your friend and and the trouble he used to get into with her and how we were growing. Because she had all of us after school.
Oh,
we would
yeah.
all be there, and she 3 nights a week she was making us a 7-course dinner.
Yeah.
So spent a lot of time together. So it was great.
One thing I learned too is I really learned it with when H came on the podcast, and then how much when he passed away, like how much that meant to the family.
Oh yeah.
So I've been trying to do, and I wanted to do it with my grandma, and by the time I thought it was just too late, and now she's passed, and I don't have what I wanted to have.
Yeah.
But even his wife, Maggie, like he would tell me, and I gave her the episode on a flash drive. She says sometimes I just like to listen to it and hear his voice, So I didn't realize obviously it's a big impact for a small, family.
Yeah.
Like it's not this wide thing, right? But I think that's like I didn't realize like that could happen with anybody that comes on this podcast, right? Like, oh, I have these stories, or just to hear the voice, or tell things. Like she told me there was some stuff that she's never heard him say before. Like all these things that people don't realize. So that's another thing. Like I want to do like what is there? There's other things out there. Like even if it was like your grandma just talking for an hour about whatever she wanted to, but just like
I save, and I've done this for about 4 or 5 years now, I think. I save every voicemail she leaves me.
So
she leaves me one. I save one from anybody who I love. I save their, I have my parents. I have ones from Chaz before his voice became a man voice of him wishing me a happy birthday. I save everything, and then for when I need it, and she leaves me the silliest voicemails, and it's so sweet, and I love that I have those.
I did that too, and I don't know where they went.
Oh.
And I wanted to listen to one yesterday because it was my grandma. It was my birthday yesterday, and she left a voicemail singing me happy birthday, but I could not find it. And then there was another one. Mateo was 2 saying happy birthday, and I don't know where they went. I checked my phone because they were on there at one point. And so I think I had to go to Verizon to see what they can do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they might be gone. Unless they're on my computer somewhere, because my phone backs everything up. So unless they're on there somewhere, I don't know. I don't know enough about my computer to be diving in there and looking at stuff. I just know I took a bunch of stuff off because I was running out of room and put it on a hard drive. So it might even be in there too. I don't know.
I email them to myself, so I will never... And I put them in a voicemail folder, so then I can resort to them anytime I need.
I was bummed out. My wife's like, "You all right?" I was like, "I just can't." I wanted to find it. I didn't tell her what I was looking for. I was like, "I can't find my voicemails." But oh well, now I know. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on here.
Hey, anytime.
The good thing about these podcasts is when I get busy in June, I can just have a month of, because here's Chelsea month.
Yeah.
Just every episode coming out. You can listen to them again if you want.
Yeah.
So, before we leave, again, thanks to Fort Meigs CrossFit for allowing me to be up here. If you need anything with them, go to fortmeigscrossfit.com. Check out all the classes and stuff they have. That's it. I appreciate you coming out here, Chelsea.
Yeah,
thanks everybody for checking out this episode of the Nerdball podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're hearing this, on any of the podcatchers, on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We're coming at you 2 times a week now, audio and video. Check us out on all the social medias. Just search the Nerdball podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're out there. Gmail is the nerdballpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to shoot us an email, we'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Cuttlefish Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, and Big Daddy Graphics for helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.